Let me start by getting your take then on the potential for delay for June 21st. How much does that date and what could happen on that date matter for you?
I think it will be a disaster for the sector as a whole if restrictions were maintained, because many outlets can't yet open. Places like theatres, exhibitions can't happen, nightclubs can't open, and most pubs and restaurants and cafes can't trade at even break even, given the social distancing restrictions currently in place. So I do think, given the very low levels of deaths and hospitalizations and the great success of vaccination, all restrictions should go on the 21st of June as promised.
So just because we see hospitality venues open then, Luke, we shouldn't assume that they're doing OK with the conditions that they're operating under at the moment. Do you think that many will be operating, at a loss because of the regulations that currently exist?
Definitely, yes. I would say a majority are either not actually trading already, and a lot are still not open, or are trading at a loss. And therefore, it's completely unsustainable. And we also have, at the end of this month, the deadline of the lifting of the moratorium from landlords taking action against tenants who haven't paid rent. And that is another cliff edge that the industry faces that needs government intervention.
You say that the measures should be lifted as promised. I mean, was it really promised, Luke? Does the hospitality sector think that it was promised, this reopening on June 21st? Because I think the government has always said, no earlier than, and that perhaps is the language they might fall back on again if they do, and we don't know, but if they do have to delay things.
Well, they said data, not dates, and the data is so much better than predicted by any of the projections of the models. It seems to me the data has proved that the vaccinations have worked and the pandemic is over, and therefore we should get our lives back, because I think the harms, the collateral damage, not just economic, but other harms to things like education, for example, from lockdowns and restrictions need to end.
And which parts of hospitality do you think are struggling most still, Luke? Is it pubs where, they're having to pay for table service? Is it restaurants that are operating under capacity, at lower capacity? Where is the pain the greatest?
Well, the pain is the greatest in things like nightclubs and festivals and concert venues, because they're all essentially shut or not happening. Essentially dancing has been illegal for the first time for about 500 years for 15 months. And it seems to me it's a madhouse where you can't dance and sing. And we need to get things in proportion and realise that so many more people are dying every single day from other diseases than from COVID, that we need to return to reality rather than this obsessional focus on a single disease.
Yeah, I mean, I know there are many domestic locations where dancing has not been banned, Luke. Kitchen discos continue aplenty, but I completely take the more serious point you're making.
Not quite the same thing, is it?
It is not quite the same thing, absolutely. Let me ask you about Gales then, this bakery chain. How have you managed to weather the storm, and in what state is this business as you come to restart the sale process for it?
Well, the retail business is trading very well. We have had a roller coaster of the 15 months, so that we did early on in the pandemic shut a number of our outlets, but we then reopened them pretty quickly. We pivoted to takeaway only. We obviously now have eat-in as well, but we've also opened a number of new branches over the last year or so very successfully. We have a great pipeline of new openings, and so the core retail business is doing extremely well. The wholesale business, which supplies the food service industry, like restaurants, pubs and hotels, has struggled, and it's been shut for much of the last 15 months. It's now reopening alongside the industry. But I can tell you now, from the volumes we're seeing there, the sector is still trading way below what it was in 2019. And therefore, that's why restrictions need to end. As a whole, the group that owns Gales, which is called Bread Holdings, is doing well. And I think that's partly because our outlets are in neighbourhoods where people live rather than in city centres where people work.
Something of a suburban renaissance with the work from home phenomenon of the past 12 months then. Luke, thanks so much for joining us. Good to get your perspective today. Luke Johnson, partner at Risk Capital Partners.